Hey kids, what time is it? It's Doofy Duty time, and this is the Doofy Doo talk through of Shiren the Wanderer, episode 17. You may have noticed that the end of last episode was a little bit abrupt. That's because a delightful update window just crashed Bandicam. But luckily I noticed it. It looks like I only missed the end of the walrus jar puzzle, so not a big deal. I went ahead and disconnected the internet, so hopefully that won't happen again. This episode we're going to continue doing phase puzzles and talk about the second quality of good control. Let's see, I think I know. Oh yeah, this puzzle. The first time I did this puzzle, I did not know you could stand on a trap and trip it whenever you wanted. So it caused me quite a bit of trouble. It took me a while to get through. But it's so funny when Shiren steps on a landmine and it doesn't go off that I think I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way and step off and step back on. Who knows, maybe I'll get it the first try, but we'll see. Alright, this is the part I remember. Now you might think, Ghost Radish, they must be undead. No, Ghost Radishes, despite their name, are not undead. So if you throw a medicinal or restorative herb at it, it will just heal it. Alright, this is usually where I have trouble. Slow down. I gotta kill this last radish. Alright. Oh. Didn't even get a chance to step on the trap. Single strike two, take two. Hopefully I'll get it this time. I promise I won't dilly-dally this much on all of the other puzzles. It's just for some reason, any landmine puzzle I find really funny. Clearly there's something wrong with me because landmines in real life are not funny at all. The second quality of good control is difficult to articulate. The easiest way I know how to say it is that a game with good control has the appropriate control scale. And control scale is a term I use to describe the ratio between the player's input and the output in the game. The easiest way to understand the concept of control scale is to think about some games at either end of the spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, which I'll call games with fine control, you have games like QWOP or Surgeon Simulator, Octodad. Oh, died again. You also have simulation type games like SimCity, Gran Turismo, Steel Battalion. These are all games in which every significant output in the game is controllable by the player. They have very fine controls. So you're always getting immediate feedback for every single one of your actions. On the other end of the control scale spectrum, we have games which have what I would call broad control. These are games like Dragon's Lair, Indigo Prophecy, Heavy Rain. Games in which the ratio of the player's input to the output in the game is fairly small. So for every control input, there's a very large output as far as what's happening in the game. Alright, I'll try one more time. I got a good feeling about this one. I'm gonna get it. If we stretch out the control scale spectrum to infinity, at the broad end, you eventually come to a movie, of course. A game in which you have no control at all. And on the fine end, you come to a development kit in which basically you are making the game and controlling every single possible outcome that could ever happen. Alright, I gotta concentrate. Looking good. Alright, two down. Go ahead and punch it one time. I can take one hit. Gotta heal myself. Alright, I'm gonna punch it again. Step off. And I gotta heal myself so I don't die next turn. This is it. Hopefully it won't. Oh no. Alright. No! Oh, I died again. At this point, the last radish is like, hey buddy, you know you could just stand on the landmine and check underfoot and you could kill me. This would all be over, man. I'm getting kind of tired of this. No. I will get that landmine to explode twice if it kills me. Or I guess if it doesn't kill me. Let's try again. I can't believe I died to a mini robber two attempts ago. What attempt is this? I've lost count. I think it's the fifth one maybe? If this one doesn't work, I might give up on this classic way of defeating this puzzle. Alright. Come on. Punch. Get him. Oh no. This is not starting off well. Alright, heal myself. Come on. Oh gosh. I don't think I'm gonna survive. Oh, these radishes are sitting down at the dinner table tonight like, "Hun, you will not believe the idiot that came into my puzzle today." Hey, maybe if I spin around on top of the mine, it'll explode. No. Oh, it died again. See, now I'm getting stubborn. I am gonna get this to work, okay? I will not check underfoot. This I vow. Alright, this will be the time. Probably. All games, of course, fall somewhere between the extremes of just a pure cutscene and a development kit, although some games come pretty close to either end. Minecraft comes to mind as a game that blurs the line between developer and gamer. But even though gamers like games all over the spectrum, I found that most gamers have a sweet spot somewhere. In general, so-called hardcore or core gamers are more comfortable at the fine end of the spectrum, and quote-unquote casual gamers like a game with more broad controls. They're overwhelmed by all the decisions in a game with really fine control. Alright, this is the time. Look at 3 medicinal herbs. If I don't get it this time, there's something wrong with me. Alright. First try, a failure. Oh no, I'm slowed down. Okay, this is it. This is the time. By the power of Grayskull! Oh, thank goodness. Alright. That was brutal. I don't think there's any more to this puzzle, but just in case, I'm going to save this last medicinal herb. I do not want to just... Oh, good. There's the stairs. Whew. I don't know. What's that? 7 tries? Finally made it. Alright, next puzzle. This difference in taste as far as the sweet spot on the control scale gives developers a dilemma because they want to appeal to a broad range of people. Now, there are several solutions to this dilemma. Oh, this episode is not my finest hour, by far. Whew. One solution is to keep very fine controls in the game, but shrink the scope of the game. So a game like QWOP or Surgeon Simulator has very fine controls, but the scope of the game is pretty limited. You're not doing a lot of different things. And one of the reasons casual gamers can enjoy these games, even though they have fine controls, is that even though they're difficult, they're not overwhelming. There's not a huge range of options for things to do. Another solution is to give the player control over the control scale through the use of difficulty levels or options in menus so that they can control how many options they actually have and how fine the control gets. A recent game that does this fairly well is Fire Emblem Awakening. If you mess around with the difficulty levels and the menu options, you actually have a pretty large range of control scales to choose from. And I think that's one reason that it's a game that became pretty popular among more casual gamers that wouldn't usually play a strategy RPG. Shiren finds a third solution to this problem, and it is through the use of progressive disclosure. A lot of games try this, but very few of them manage to pull it off as effortlessly and organically as Shiren does. When you start playing Shiren the Wanderer, you are already at the fine end of the control scale spectrum, but you are unaware of it. And simply through the use of monster progression and a gradual increase in the variety of items, you start to exert more and more control on every aspect of the game until you find yourself at the fine end of the control scale. It was always there, but you really are free to discover it at your own pace in Shiren, which I think is pretty rare for a game. In a lot of games with very deep controls, let's take a 2D fighter like KOF 98 or Street Fighter 3. I'm going to throw this rice ball at Faye for making me die so many times in these horrible puzzles. In those fighting games, there's a period of frustration. You feel dislocated on the control scale because you see immediately that other gamers are doing really complicated combos. And you feel like the game is clearly at the fine end of the control scale spectrum, but you're stuck over at the broad end. You're just trying to figure out how everything works. Oh, this puzzle has the most powerful scroll in the game, the scroll of removal. You can see every time I throw it, I'm removing an entire family of monsters. Every possible leveled up form of a monster is gone from an entire dungeon. If you want to have the best chance of finishing Faye's final puzzle, it's crucial to unlock that scroll by reading it at least once. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't count if you read it in the puzzle, but I'll double check. Where was I? Oh yeah, in fighting games you feel a frustration of not being at the fine end of the control scale. And even in games that don't require a lot of manual dexterity like typical RPG, in the beginning of the game there's a certain frustration. You feel limited, you feel like you're stuck in a tutorial and you know you don't have all the abilities that you will get by the end of the game. Shiren is not like that. You are as powerful as you are ever gonna get at the beginning of the game. Hey crabs, what's going on? The scroll of need will freeze all the enemies around you as long as there's at least 2 enemies within 1 square. Usually they'll be paralyzed after you read the scroll of need. Scroll of need can also uncurse items, heal your status ailments, and even give you money, depending on your condition. But yeah, it sure never feels limiting because of the elegant and efficient use of progressive disclosure. When you're playing Table Mountain, it feels like a satisfying complete experience. And then you get to Faye's final puzzle, and you realize that Table Mountain was just a tutorial. And in order to progress through the game, you move yourself closer and closer to the fine end of the spectrum. This was a difficult episode for me because my thoughts on this aspect are still a work in progress. Hopefully at least a little bit of that made sense. Next week we'll get to the third and final quality of good control. I am Doofy, player of games and teacher of the secrets of Shiren the Wanderer. This is my sarcastic pantsweasel, Copa. Cherished gaming memories were bestowed upon me the day I walked into an Oklahoma City GameStop and asked, "Do you have a used copy of Shiren for the DS?"
By the power of Grayskull!